Good morning everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm switching from my beloved Jeep Cherokee to my other Jeep, which is a 2009 Jeep Liberty. So about a week ago, my check engine light came on, which caused me some concern. So when I took it down to get the code read, essentially what it told me, I believe the code was P0440, and what it translated to was that I either had a problem with my gas cap, and so if it wasn't the gas cap, then the next most likely explanation for the problem was what's called the Emission System Integrity Monitor, EMIS, which sits down by the exhaust system. Now again, this caused me some concern. I went in and got an estimate, and a conservative estimate to replace this part was going to be $250. The OEM part alone cost me would cost me $150. So I wasn't real happy about that. And that caused me some real concern because I had just put a new gas cap on this Liberty about 3 weeks ago. And my thinking was that it seemed unlikely that I had a bad gas cap, and I was real worried that I was going to have to take it into the shop. So I was talking to another Jeep guy, and he said to me, listen, before you take it to the shop and run up a pretty substantial bill for this repair, he said, let me urge you to take a step before you do that. And he said, given that you recently replaced the gas cap, why don't you try this? And what he told me to do was clean off the spout on the gas tank, where on the fuel tank, where the gas cap screws in. Clean that out thoroughly, and also with WD-40 clean out the gas cap, including the valve in the gas cap. So let me show you what it was that I actually did. So the first thing I did was I took some rubbing alcohol and I cleaned this entire area, the shiny area right here, cleaned it off thoroughly with some rubbing alcohol. And then after that, I took some WD-40 and cleaned again this entire area with WD-40, making sure that essentially the spout itself was spotless. And then I went to work on the gas cap. And you can see in the gas cap, right there in the center, you can see that's where the valve is. So I sprayed some WD-40 on the valve, and then if you look closely, you can see the gasket. You can see the gasket. I'm going to put this down, and the gasket itself is right here. And I thoroughly cleaned the gasket and left a very light covering of WD-40 on the gasket. I mean, I thought, what did I have to lose by giving this a try? By doing that, the gas cap went on very smoothly and very tightly. So after I put the gas cap back on very tightly, I wanted to reset the codes, so I disconnected the battery. In my case, that was a really, really big mistake. And the reason for that was because I had an appointment the next morning to get an emissions test. And so let me tell you what happened. When I turned the Jeep back on, the check engine light went off. Now what I came to find out, and I'll describe this in layman's terms, but what I came to find out is that when you disconnect the battery the way I did, what essentially it does is it kind of deboots the computer system in your car. I was unaware of this. and then you actually have to drive the car about 100 miles before it completely reboots. So the next morning, I take the car from my home to the emissions test site about 5 miles away, and my car promptly failed the emissions test. And it didn't fail the emissions test because error codes came up with respect to the way the Jeep was functioning. It failed the emissions test because it could not read the emissions, or it could not read the O2 sensors. And the technician came back and talked to me, and he said, by any chance did you disconnect the battery cables, or did the Jeep run its battery down to zero recently? And I told him, yeah, I had done it the day before with the fix that I tried to do, this maintenance fix I tried to do. And he said, yeah, well, that's the problem. You need to drive your car 100 miles in order to get the engine to recycle. He said, your vehicle has essentially failed the test. You're going to need to do a retest. So dutifully, the next morning, I got up about 7 in the morning, got in the car, and took the car for a 120-mile drive. Now, the good news about all of that was that at no time in that 120-mile drive did the check engine light come on. So I brought it into the emissions tester, had the retest. 45 minutes later, I'm driving out the door, and the car had passed completely. So that simple piece of advice that was given to me about thoroughly cleaning off the lip of the spout on the car, and also making sure I cleaned off the gasket and the valve in the cap, was all it took to fix my car, and it saved me God knows how much money taking it down to a mechanic. So I hope this video was helpful for you. It sure was a relief for me. I've driven the car another 100 miles since the emissions test, and again, no problems whatsoever. So I hope that if the check engine light comes on, you'll try this technique that this gentleman showed me. I mean, you have nothing to lose, and I hope in the process it fixes your problem. Okay, see you in the next video.